In the 9th century, a black African Hebrew arrived in the city of Kairouan in Algeria. In this city was one of the famous Talmudic schools. The name of this Hebrew was Eldad the Danite. He told a credible story of a Hebrew empire south of the Sahara in the western Sudan. According to Eldad the Danite, the Hebrews in the interior of Africa spoke a Phoenician Hebraic language mixed with Arabic. They had a religion which had come down from Moses and a Hebrew emperor. It was believed that this emperor was named Tolotan or Bolotan. Eldad said that the people of this tribe had fled from the kingdom of Israel after Sennacherib, the Assyrian, who subdued it, and that the other Israelite tribes, such as Naphtali, Gad, and Asher, were in the land from which he came. He told of the laws of Moses, which they followed, the complete series of the scriptures except Esher and Lamentations. He did not speak of the legal works that were produced in Babylon and Palestine after the destruction of the first temple, of which the Algerian Jews had a knowledge. These extraordinary works were the of Mishnah and the Talmud. Eldad displayed as evidence some ceremony pertaining to the slaughtering of animals for food. It was written in Hebrew and an Arabic tinge, but Eldad claimed that he knew no other language than Hebrew. In regard to Eldad's story, the Gaon, head of the Jews, assured the people the story was credible. We are grateful for the travels and researches of Nahum Slots, who wrote in the early part of the 20th century. He said, "For many years, the author of this book has been gathering material for a history of the Jewish migrations into the Sahara and the Sudan. One part of his work is already done, the establishing of the authenticity of migrations. To the writings of the Arabs and the oral traditions of the country, he can now add the archaeological evidence furnished by the ruins of ancient Jewish cities in the Sahara and the Sudan, and in the documentary evidence of Hebrew inscription like those of Tuat, which date from the 13th and 14th centuries. It is now an established fact that Ghana was a black Hebrew state, and at this juncture, I shall continue my writing concerning the Zah dynasty of Ghana. The 15th Zah prince took control of the great city of Jao on the upper Niger, AD. His name was Zah Kasi or Kusi. Up to this time, all the kings of Ghana professed the Hebrew religion. However, in this year, a radical transformation occurred. Zakasi accepted Islam. Davison, quoting the Tariqa el-Fatah, says that the king of Songhay, Ghana, was persuaded to convert to Islam by the merchants of the city of Gao, who had become wealthy and economically powerful. Much of Ghana's trade was maintained with the Muslims of the north. The North Africans were ardent Mohammedans in their day, and economics and religion were co-partners operating concertedly in the city of Jao. I do not condemn Zakazi for his conversion to Islam. In fact, I say justify his actions. The Muslims were dominating Ghana's vital trade links in North Africa and the Sahara, and it was good for the Ghana security to be recognized as having a Mohammedan king. Concerning Islam in the Western Sudan, Basil Davison makes the following observation. Islam reaches the markets of the Western Sudan by at least the 9th century, but it makes a little initial impact. The rulers of Ghana do not accept Islam as one of their state religions. Only at the beginning of the 11th century are there a few such conversions, the earliest of any importance of which we know being that of the king of Gao, traditionally in 1010, followed by that of the king of Canaan Bornu in 1086. Davison says there are tactical conversions. These kings are Muslims only in name, motivated as much by commercial convenience as by appreciation and of the political and religious achievements and teachings of Islam. In spite of the fact that the kings of Ghana professed Islam, many of the inhabitants remained Jews. El-Berki, the Muslim writer, wrote about Ghana in 1067. The king of Ghana in his day was Tinkaminen, who came to the throne at 1062 AD. El-Berki says that the king of Ghana, Tinkaminen, was the ruler of a great empire, and he was able to organize an army of 200,000 men. In the 11th century, a Mohammedan people from the northwest invaded the city of Azgaz within the Empire of Ghana. These invaders were called the Almoravides. By the year 1076 AD, Abu Bakr, the leader of the Almoravides, captured the capital of Ghana. However, the Islamic Jewish king was allowed to maintain his throne. Tinkaminen paid tribute to Abu Bakr. At this time, Gayo, or Gaho, the capital of Ghana, was separated into two cities. The first one was the residence of the king. This city contained a fortress which was surrounded by a wall. The second city contained 12 mosques in which the Mohammedan merchants could settle or wait until they transacted their business. This description given by El-Berki leaves us with the impression that the city of the king's residence was probably inhabited by many Jews, because there was a great distinction between the king's residence and the residence of the Mohammedans. In the city of Gao, the Islamic religion was influential. Only a Muslim could be king. When a new king ascended to the throne, three royal imperial emblems constituting the Quran, a sword, and a ring were received by the king. Ahmed Baba, a native of Songhai, dates the beginning of Islam in Ghana after the year 1010. El-Berki designates the then reigning king as Kanda. Barth says that he is most probably identical with the Islamic Jewish king Zabayuki, or Beyakoi Hima, of Ahmed Baba, the third succeeding king of Zakasi. The Empire of Mali is also called the Melistine Empire. The word Mali is derived from a Mandingo grammatical root meaning free. The rulers and people of the Empire of Mali were black Africans of the Mandingo tribe. This tribe was originally situated in the territory known today as Guinea, Sierra Leone, and northward. On the banks of the upper Niger near the present-day Sierra Leone, the Mandingos established their capital at a place called Niani. After the breakup of the Ghanan Empire by invasions from many tribes, Ghana split apart into a number of states, but in the capital of Ghana, Gayo, the Hebrew Zai kings continued to reign. Many people who were subject to Ghana proclaimed their independence after chaos set in. The most celebrated of these people were the Mandingos, who established the nucleus of a new empire about the middle of the 13th century, 1240 AD. There are several important factors that we must consider in order to comprehend the rise of Mali. First of all, Mali had received an impetus and significant influence from her predecessor, Ghana, to the north. This influence can be explained in political, economic, and religious ways. The Muslims and merchants of the north and the Sahara had their trading centers in the cities of Ghana. The Mandingo traders of Mali traded with the Muslims. In those days, and to some extent today, commerce and religion have operated together. The Mandingo merchants recognized the advantages of the rapidly growing, powerful, influential culture and religion of the Muslims in the north. As a result, the Mandingo merchants played a great part in the transportation of Islam to their people. The Mandingos were a successful agricultural people. They were blessed with the availability of rivers which they used for irrigation. They grew rice and other staples, which contributed to a rapidly growing population. The people of Mali had enough grain to sell to the people of the Sahara and the north. They developed market towns, which later grew into cities and states. With their trading abilities, their skills, and vigorous energy, Davidson said the Mandingos became rich. Davidson continued with the collapse of Ghana as an empire. Their chance of large political power was open. They grasped it with a sure hand. In dealing with the kings of Mali, Ibn Khaldun is rated as our best authority. He wrote about 1376 AD. The king of Mali, who is rendered credit for the establishment and organization of an imperial system in Mali, was Sundiata. The year that the Mandingo state rose into imperial power is dated from 1240. In this year, a decisive battle was fought between the Mandingos and a people from Tekrur, eventually Almoravides, from medieval Mauritania. Sundiata defeated Sumaguru and his people, who had captured the seat of the Hebrew kings of Ghana, and imposed a tribute on them. Like other kings of the Western Sudan, Sundiata knew that power was contingent upon wealth. Most of the wealth was in trade, and most of the trade was in the hands of Muslims. Consequently, he converted to Islam. Almost 100 years after the death of Sundiata, a powerful king emerged in Mali. His name was Mansa Musa. During his lifetime, 1312 through 1337, his accomplishment transcended his predecessors. His empire extended east to west, beginning at the Atlantic Ocean to northern modern Nigeria, and from north to south, reaching almost from central Mauritania and extending to the borders of modern Guinea and the Ivory Coast. In 1326 AD, Mansa Musa made a pilgrimage to Mecca, the holy city of the Muslims. It is said that he exhibited a marvelous splendor that astonished the spectators. He arrived in the east with thousands of foot soldiers and over 60,000 mounted warriors. In addition to his soldiers, he had 500 slaves, each carrying a rod of gold weighing 6 pounds. As a contribution to the holy cities, he gave 20,000 pieces of gold. Mali, in its heyday, was known for its prosperity and peace. Within the empire, there existed one pervading system of law and order and justice. An African visitor, Ibn Battuta, had this to say about the Sudan. The inhabitants had a greater abhorrence of justice than any other people. Neither the man who travels nor he who stays at home has anything to fear from robbers or men of violence. This fact may seem incredible to those people who think that black men are innately violent. During the lifetime of Mansa Musa, commerce increased on a large scale. The merchants of Mali established relay stations throughout the empire at important centers. These enterprises reached the forest country south of Senegal and the Niger rivers. Before the time of Mansa Musa, the city of Timbuktu was founded in the latter part of the 11th century. Barth thinks that it was first a small marketplace for the inhabitants of the province of Rag. Mansa Musa is not only remembered for his pilgrimage, trade, and military accomplishments, but also for his public constructions. The king of Mali built a place and several mosques in the celebrated city of Timbuktu. At the extremities of the city of Timbuktu, these mosques were erected. The Mosque of Gingerbread was located in the southwest, and the Mosque of Sankor was located in the northern quarter of the city. Mansa Musa was indeed a champion of Islamic religion and learning. This was the time that the city of Timbuktu and Guinea began to rise as scholastic cities. Concomitant with the Mosque of Sankor was established also the University of Sankor. This university, during the period of the dynasty of Askia the Great, acquired a universal reputation as a university of theology, law, philosophy, medicine, history, etc. Before I shall continue, it behooves me to explain to you that the later empire of Songhai was erected on the foundation of the Empire of Ghana. The only difference was that Songhai was greater in land area, more Islamic, scholastic, and it terminated with a native African king. When the Emperor Kankan Musa was on his pilgrimage to Arabia, the general of Mali took Gayo to the capital of Ghana, or Songhai. Then Kankan Musa returned from Arabia by way of Gayo and accepted the capitulation of the king of Ghana and his nobles. Philip St. Laurent, who writes a monthly article on African history for the Philadelphia Bulletin, says that the soldiers of Mali were made prisoners of the ruling family of Dia Sobi. Among these prisoners were Ali Cologne, or Kilum, and his brother Selmar Nar, the son of Za Yasebi. These Hebrew princes were appointed as pages at the court of Mali about 1335 AD. In the meantime, Gayo was subjected under Mali political system, says Davison, and the Mansa Kankan Musa exacted tribute from its rulers. It was not too long before the prince of the Za dynasty escaped from the court and army of Mali. They organized an army and fought the king of Mali. Ali Cologne entertained a profound hatred against Mali conquerors because they had subjugated his people. In the latter part of the 14th century, the army of Ali Cologne, later called Sunni, the Liberator, made attacks on Niani, the capital of Mali, yearning for independence. Soni Ali desisted in paying tribute to Mali because of the exploits of Soni Ali, and Za dynasty of Gayo acquired a new appellation. The dynasty after Soni Ali, the first, is called the Sunni or Shi dynasty. There were about 17 or 18 Islamic Hebrew kings in this dynasty. In the year 1464, the 16th Za prince, Soni Ali, took the leadership of Gayo and began to build a new empire. Soni Ali attacked many of the neighboring tribes, including the city of Timbuktu, and brought them under his control. For his strength, he did not depend too much on the Muslims of the cities, but primarily on the inhabitants of the countryside. Soni Ali was not even a good Muslim. He adhered to the traditional religions of Gayo and the Songhai people. In almost every way, Songhai was a greater empire than Mali. Soni Ali systemized various schemes of organizations and administrations unknown by his predecessors. He appointed governors over his territories and organized a standing professional army consisting of an echelon, including a navy on the Niger. The Songhai Empire seems to have begun with Soni Ali I. This was the time of the decline of the Empire of Mali in the year 1350 AD, but the superior vigor of the Songhai Empire did not occur until the time of Askia the Great. Now, pertaining to the temperament of Soni Ali, many writers say that it was uncontrollable. He would put to death many of his important officials and ministers of state, later wishing they were alive. Soni Ali's secretary at this time was a man named El Qadar, from whom Soni Ali had ordered the death penalty because of contradiction. In the course of time, a book arrived that no one in the king's court could read but El Qadar. Then the king expressed remorse for his rash action. At that juncture, his secretary was brought into his presence. On seeing him, Soni Ali displayed great joy and gave valuable gifts to those who saved him. There was another distinguished officer of the state who survived death in this manner, known by various names such as Muhammad Tur and Abu Bakr, who succeeded Soni Ali as Askia the Great. After Soni Ali had completed his business in Gayo, his unconquerable military impulse moved him on. He attacked to the east and the west, expanding his empire. His predatory acts acquired for him much booty, but a change of fortune caused his death. When he was crossing the Coney River, he fell into the torrent and was drowned. The body of the great king was prepared and preserved according to the ancient Egyptian customs. This custom consisted of the extraction of the intestines and the insertion of honey. Sunni Ali, sometimes called Abu Kabir, Sunni Baro, sometimes called Abu Kabir, succeeded Sunni Ali on the throne, but his reign was very short. After the death of Sunni Ali, his most distinguished general, Muhammad Tur, plunged the empire into civil war. Muhammad Tur, or Toure, fought Sunni Baro at Dagna and had defeated him. Then Boro took refuge at Gayo, the capital. Muhammad Toure stopped for a while in order to recognize his army before resuming the war. After a prolonged and bloody battle, Sunni Boro was conquered and forced into exile. When hearing that Muhammad had seized the kingdom from Baro, the daughters of Sunni Ali were said to have exclaimed, "Askia, Askia, the usurper." As a result of this, Muhammad immediately decreed that he be called by no other name than Askia, and he became known as Muhammad Askia, the founder of a native African dynasty, the last to exist in this part of the Sudan. With the rise of the Askian dynasty, the Zaasoni dynasty of the Black Hebrew kings were terminated about the year 1492 AD. To perpetuate his illegal rule, Muhammad Askia employed political cunning. He became a zealous Muslim and secured the confirmation of the ecclesiastical authorities. He advocated that Mohammedanism should be spread throughout the empire. Askia discharged a group of soothsayers and surrounded himself with theologians. He consulted with them on many important matters. With Askia's urging, the theologians proclaimed a declaration in which said Sunni Ali was a heretic and that the struggle against Sunni Baro was a holy war. About 3 years after the civil war, Askia emulated Mansa Kankan Musa of Mali by undertaking a long pilgrimage to the holy cities in the east. His cavalcade consisted of a vast number of infantrymen and cavaliers. On his pilgrimage was also a retinue of 1,500 princes and chiefs of the empire. While Askia was in Mecca, he spent 100,000 pieces of gold. This was more than any other ruler had spent. In Mecca, he purchased a garden and set up a charitable institution for the people of the Sudan. He gave to the Caliph of Baghdad gifts that astonished the entire court. These contributions surpassed all other kings. The Caliph of Baghdad, Abbasid Motiwakel, was immensely impressed with Askia. With the Caliph's consent, Askia was made his deputy in Songhay, and as a sign of his authority, the Caliph gave Askia a green fez and a white turban. In Cairo, Egypt, Askia passed many hours among the religious scholars, forming a special acquaintance with a scholar named Esouti. It was in Cairo that Askia accepted many advanced concepts about political science, which he put into practice in the Sudan. Askia returned to his homeland with an enlarged mind and many new experiences. He appointed his brother Omar commander of the army, and he began to consolidate the expanding empire initiated by Sunni Ali, attacking many tribes, unbelievers in Islam. Askia declared war on the Yolofs and the Masis. At first, he sent an ambassador to the king of the Masis, demanding that the king convert to Islam. The king refused, and Askia displayed no mercy in war that followed. He decimated the Masi hamlets and towns, making all the inhabitants prisoners, and forced them all to become Muslims. The length of his empire extended from the Atlantic Ocean beyond Lake Chad in the east. After the year 1502, the army of Askia invaded the state of Mali. The Songhays sustained such a large number of fatalities that Omar remarked, the Songhai will be exterminated. The reply of Askia was, on the contrary, the conquered nations will make our lives easier, for they will be part of us and will assist us in our enterprises. But Askia is known for more than his conquest, writes Davidson. The literate culture of the Western Sudan, already in existence for several hundred years, flowered in Timbuktu during years that saw, in Europe, the ravage of the 100-Year War. No one can say how much it flowered, nor what fruits it bore, for the books that men read or wrote there are lost and not yet found. But Leo Africanus, 2 centuries later, gives some measure of the city's intellectual life. In Timbuktu, he says, there are numerous judges, doctors, clerics, all receiving good salaries from the king. He pays great respect to men of learning. There is a big demand for books and manuscripts imported from Barbary. More profit is made from the book trade than from any other line of business. The king, of course, was Askia the Great, whereas Gao was the political capital of the Songhai Empire. Timbuktu was a cultural capital. Many of the students of Timbuktu, Gao, and Guinea were sent to the Muslim universities of North Africa, Spain, and Asia. Also, many learned men, irrespective of nationality, were summoned to stay at the celebrated city of Timbuktu, where money was appropriated for their learning. In order to unite his empire, Askia interlocked the royal families by marriage, says Du Bois. The highest officers of state were either chosen from the royal family or married to its princesses, as were the principal military chiefs, forming a dynastic aristocracy of the greatest importance to national unity. For better administrative organizations, Askia set up 4 viceroys in his empire, one in the east around Lake Chad, and the second one in the north around Timbuktu and Gao, and a third one was in the northwest, and a fourth in the southwest. Because the government of Songhai was strong, Askia was able to control the commerce. He built a merchant fleet and a war fleet to facilitate commerce in the harbors and canals that he constructed on the Niger River and its branches. As a result, the economy and commerce developed with tremendous upsurge. The city of Guinea became a melting pot of internal commerce, Timbuktu of international commerce. For the first time, the Portuguese established companies on the west coast of Africa in the year 1448. During the lifetime of Askia, North African and Portuguese ships sailed to the Songhai port at Kabara. In order to perpetuate and facilitate trade, Askia standardized the system of weights and measures. There was no toleration of highway robbery. Anybody found culpable of this overt act incurred the utmost punishment. During the reign of Askia I, his son Askia Musa revolted and expelled his father. Years later, with the help of another son, Ismail, he returned to Gao, the capital. After reigning for 35 years, he died in 1538. Despite the fact that there has existed much debauchery among Askia descendants, the strong government he created ensured its survival for many years. Final chaos came to Songhai when the Moors invaded it in 1591. The Moors came to acquire wealth. They paid a dire price for their predatory exploits. Some writers have estimated that 23,000 Moors perished in one day or another in the military campaigns against Songhai. After 2 decades, the Moors withdrew their military forces from Songhai in 1618. Basil Davison has this to say about Songhai: but if their invasion cost the Moroccans much more than it was worth, it cost Songhai its place in history. for demolished the unity and the administrative organization of the state. And while it left Timbuktu and Gayo and Guinea as considerable cities, it robbed this civilization of its vitality. From that moment, says the Chronicle, everything changed. Danger took the place of security, poverty of wealth. Peace gave way to distress, disasters, and violence. After the Moors withdrew from the Sudan, the Portuguese, French, and English established colonies that seized the mineral resources of these countries.